Welcome to the Parsha Perspective. Each week, we will delve deep in a weekly Torah portion to find a practical and insightful way to enhance your daily life. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Rabbi Shalom Yamini, and each week we will look into the weekly Torah portion to find practical and insightful ways to enhance your daily life. This week's Parsha Perspective is in honor of our homeland, Eretz Yisroel. May Kadosh Baruch Hu, may God continue to protect our brave soldiers, and may God return all the hostages in Gaza immediately. This week's Parsha Perspective is in loving memory of Shlomo ben Edward, whose yortzeit is the Shabbos, Edward ben Efraim, and Yirachmiel Daniel ben Gedalia. May all their souls be uplifted, and may their memories be a blessing to all of us. Before I begin, the release date of this episode corresponds with Chai El, the 18th of El. This day is one of the most significant days in the Chabad calendar, marking the birthdays of the Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem, the founder of the Hasidic movement, and Rav Shneur Zalman of Liadi, the founder of the Chabad Hasidic movement. The Baal Shem Tov revealed the holiness of every single Jew and taught that sincerity, humility, and joy mattered more than dry achievement. And he showed how even the simplest person can serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu through heartfelt prayer. The Alter Rebbe, Rav Shneur Zalman of Liadi, gave Chassidus a profound intellectual framework. He created a path of study and contemplation that allows the soul to connect deeply with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with God. And his teaching continued to guide and inspire people across the world through the Chabad movement carried on by each Rebbe to our Rebbe, the 7th Rebbe. This week's Torah portion is Parshas Tsavo, Covenant in Stone. Our Parsha continues Moshe's final address to the Jewish nation, and he begins by teaching the laws that will apply once the Jewish nation settles in the land of Israel. The first mitzvah, the first commandment, is Bikurim, the mitzvah of bringing the first fruits of each year's harvest to the Beis Mikdash. And this commandment, this mitzvah, applies specifically to the Shivas Haminim, the 7 species which Israel is known for: wheat, barley, dates, figs, grapes, pomegranates, and olives. Each year, people from across Israel will join the procession of farmers as they brought their fruit to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to God in the temple. And they would sing, they would dance and play musical instruments and accompany the farmers in joy and in celebration as they fulfilled this very special mitzvah. Moshe then reminds the Jewish nation of the blessings they will receive for following God's commands. He also warns of the curses, the pain, the suffering that have marked our history when we have failed to live up to his word. Finally, Moshe declares that God has chosen us as his nation, as his people, and it is upon us to live in a way that reflects that eternal bond, that eternal connection. However, a question comes to mind. At the beginning of Perek Chav Zayin, chapter 27, Moshe commands the nation to set up large stones, to plaster them, and to write upon them the entire Torah as they cross through the Yarden, the Jordan River, into the land of Israel. And the pasuk seems to suggest that this act itself is what allows the nation to enter the land of Israel. The pasuk writes, "V'kasav alein," as called divrei Torah zois, and you shall write upon them, the stones, these words of the Torah, ba'avrecha, when you pass through the Yarden River, laman asher tavi el haaretz, so that you may enter the land and you may settle in the land. Was this command simply another mitzvah to be fulfilled as they entered the land of Israel? Or was it far greater? Was this the spiritual gateway through which the nation would pass to dwell in its holiness in the land of Israel? What was the purpose of this mitzvah, and what was the purpose of the pasuk seemingly suggesting that this enabled the Jewish nation to fulfill and enter into the promised land? The Ramban, Rav Moshe ben Nachman, a leading Torah scholar, gives us a simple explanation. And he writes that the command to write the Torah on these stones was not merely ceremonial. It was the first mitzvah commanded as they entered the land, and it served as a declaration that their inheritance was for the sake of Torah alone. The pasuk writes, "They shall write upon them so that you may enter the land," to teach us that our right to dwell in the land is tied to our commitment to Torah. The land was not given for its fields or its beauty. It was given to be a place where God's word would be lived and revealed. The Ramban explains that these stones were to stand as a remembrance, as a monument. They were a visible sign that the Torah itself is the foundation of conquest, the foundation of settlement in the land. Only by remembering the Torah and keeping its mitzvahs could the nation ever truly enter, conquer, and remain in the land of Israel. The message is clear according to Ramban. Israel without Torah is only geography, but Israel with Torah becomes holiness. And by writing, by inscribing the Torah at the border as they entered, affirm that our future depends on living by its holy words to make this land holy. However, the Or HaChaim Rav Chaim ben Attar, a Moroccan commentary and Kabbalist, gives us a deeper and more profound explanation. And he writes that the command to write the Torah on these stones was not only a mitzvah or a spiritual reminder, it carried a new dimension. Until now, Moshe Rabbeinu had told the nation that their right to inherit the land was not because of their own merit. It was because, and it was given to us as a promise that God made to our forefathers, to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov, that their descendants would inherit this very land. The Or HaChaim explains that this mitzvah shifted that reality. By writing the Torah on the stones as they entered, the Jewish people were no longer entering the land by default. They were entering their land on their own merit. Their Yerusha, their inheritance, was no longer a gift of history. It was now a direct result of their own command, their own mitzvah, their own reward. Their own actions and their own choices to bind themselves to the Torah, that is the reason they're in the land. And this, writes the Or HaChaim, was a profound dignity. It showed the Jewish nation that not only do they have to rely on the past, they can earn the land by fulfilling God's commands in their time. And this monument of stone declared that the Jewish people belong to Israel, and Israel belongs to the Jewish people not only because of promises made long ago, but because of the living merit by their own actions every single day. It was a reminder that each generation must take ownership of the bris, of the covenant between us and God, and that our bond to the land and to Eretz Yisroel and to Kadosh Baruch Hu is strongest when we commit to our Father, to our King in heaven. And this is the purpose of this mitzvah as they enter the Yarden, as they enter the Jordan River to cross into the land of Israel. To inscribe to themselves a new dimension, a new reality that they now earn the land each and every day as they bring about the ultimate redemption. This profound and deep lesson from the holy Or HaChaim is ever more relevant today, the 18th of Elul, Chai Elul. The Baal Shem Tov, the Alter Rebbe echoed this lesson in their lives, in their teachings, and in the movements that they created and continued. The Baal Shem Tov urged every Jew to develop a personal connection with God that was not dependent on any other person. And this may seem obvious today, but in his time was revolutionary. The Jewish people were still reeling from the trauma of the false Mashiach who divided communities and left many broken in faith. And the Baal Shem Tov restored hope by teaching that every Jew, no matter how simple, could speak to God directly and be heard. The Alter Rebbe carried this legacy forward, giving it profound intellectual depth. He founded Chabad Hasidus, which challenges each chassid to build not only an emotional connection, but an intellectual one. To study, through meditation, through deep reflection, through avodah, one could uncover the truth that God is present in every detail of existence. And this is not an abstract philosophy, it is a practical path to recognize God's presence in our daily life, and to serve Him with mind and heart together, and to cultivate love and awe in a way that transforms how we live. And this message of ownership becomes even more powerful in this month of Elul. The Alter Rebbe describes Elul as the time, as the period where the king is in the field. The king leaves behind his palace and entourage and comes into the field waiting for each of us to approach him. And this is the time to step forward and say, you are our King, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we are your children. We are ready to crown you as our King once again for this coming year. And as we prepare for Rosh Hashanah, as we begin to find our menus and where we're going to eat, we are being called to develop our own connection to God simultaneously, to stay clearly where we stand, and to greet the Melech, the King, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with open hearts in the field, in a place of growth. And in return, He blesses us with a year of health and happiness, a year of love and connection, and a year of success and prosperity. And with this commitment, we bring closer the ultimate redemption. and the coming of Mashiach. Ksiva v'chasim tova may be signed and sealed with a year of happiness, health, love, connection, success, and prosperity. I want to conclude with a little bit from Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs's book, Ceremony and Celebration. Life is meaningful. We are not mere accidents of matter, generated by a universe that came into being for no reason and will one day cease to be for no reason. We are here because of a loving God has brought a universe, has brought life and us into existence. A God who knows our fears, hears our prayers, believes in us more than we believe in ourselves, who forgives us when we fall, who lifts us when we fail, and gives us strength to overcome despair. Ksiv v'chasim tova again, and have a great weekend and a meaningful Shabbos. Thank you for tuning in to the Parsha Perspective. Check out our website, theparshaperspective.com. Send thoughts and comments to theparshaperspective@gmail.com. Till next time, thanks for listening.